Okay, this is a reaction video. Please click the like, share, and subscribe for me. I would appreciate it, and I thank the people who've already done that. What if you were stranded on the world's most remote island? Well, I don't know what the world's most remote island is, and I'm assuming this is going to tell me. So let me see what this has for us. What if you were stranded on the world's most remote island?
This video is made possible by Micro Center. Get a free 128GB flash drive and 128GB micro SD card when you follow the link down in the description below. If you're watching this video and you live in a city, it might be hard to grasp how utterly remote the world's most remote island actually is. Let me put it this way. There are nearly 8 billion people living their lives in our world today, which is a really, really huge number.
8 billion. B with a B, that stands for boy. 8 billion people.
That's more than triple the number of people who existed as recently as 1950, while by and large, most of us today are congregating ever more into the same few places. Today, over 56% of all 8 billion of us live within cities, and in less than 30 years from now, by 2050, that share is estimated to increase up to 68% of us.
A lot of people live in the city. More people live in the city than don't. Now, I took a trip out west to Wyoming and South Dakota and Montana, which is in the United States, and those places are pretty much barren. They have cities, but not to the size of what you're looking at on the screen right now, and certainly not with the amount of people. I mean, it really depends on, especially Wyoming. When we got into Wyoming, there's just so much undeveloped land there. It's not even funny.
And those are just the worldwide figures. In developed countries like the United States, the concentration of people living within cities is even higher at about 83%. While in the Netherlands, it's even higher still at an overwhelming 92% of the...
That's amazing. I'm guessing that's Amsterdam, but if people in the Netherlands, let me know. I'm guessing that's Amsterdam. I'm not sure. I don't know. I know where the Netherlands is. I flew over the Netherlands on my way into Germany, I believe, but I'm guessing that's Amsterdam.
The population. Largely because of that, despite there being near...
That's what it looked like in Wyoming and Montana, and I don't know if that's where that is, but that's what it looked like.
Nearly 8 billion of us worldwide, a lot of the world is still pretty empty. This is the United States, and these spots colored in green are the more than 4 million census block areas where not a single person currently lives. Nobody watching or commenting on this video lives within any of these green locations, and every other large country in the world has a pretty similar trend. This is Canada, which is overwhelmingly empty of people. This is...
And no, they don't live in igloos. That's Brazil. Yeah, Brazil.
Brazil, which is also pretty overwhelmingly empty of people, while this is the United Kingdom, which also has a lot of areas in Scotland and Wales where there just aren't any people currently living. There are a lot of empty and desolate places across the world that would be horrible to find yourself stranded and lost in, far away from any civilization or people who could offer any help. But the absolute worst place on the entire planet to be stranded on, without a doubt, is in Norway. Well, not this part of Norway, but this part, this tiny little island far away from all of us in the South Atlantic, called Bouvet.
I guess Bouvet is owned by the Norwegian government, Bouvet Island.
To say that Bouvet is remote would be a vast understatement. First of all, nobody lives here. It's completely uninhabited. Second of all, it's quite literally the most isolated piece of land anywhere on Earth, meaning that it is the piece of land that is the furthest away from any other land. The nearest other landmass is 1,700 kilometers away to the south.
Okay, so...
And that's just Antarctica.
That's Antarctica. So we're below... That's Africa up here at the top, and to the west, that would be South America.
Besides that, it's 2,250 kilometers away across ocean from the nearest actually inhabited landmass, and that's just the tiny speck that is Tristan da Cunha Island. Population, only 250. Besides that, it's 2,600 kilometers away to the nearest inhabited continent in southern Africa. This means that if you draw out a circle with a radius of 2,000 kilometers with Bouvet Island right in the center, and you were located on Bouvet, you would be the only human within that entire circle. And the circle would have an area roughly equivalent to the entire European continent.
If you are on Bouvet Island and it's uninhabited, again, I don't know what Bouvet Island looks like. Hopefully they have pictures to show me, and you're close to Antarctica. I'm wondering if it is just a big giant slab of ice, not literally, mind you. But I'm kind of curious about that because, like I said, I don't know that I've ever heard of Bouvet Island.
Imagine being the only human in Europe, and that's the level of isolation that you feel here alone. And this is all besides the point that Bouvet itself is incredibly tiny, only 49 square kilometers in total area, which is only about half the size of Disney World in Orlando.
Okay, so that's really, really small. That explains why nobody lives there, or partially explains why nobody lives there. We don't know what it looks like yet, or at least I don't know what it looks like yet. But yeah, that's really, really tiny.
But unlike Disney World.
Okay, there we go. That's it. Looks like a big...
93% of Bouvet is covered by a thick, icy glacier.
So it is ice. Okay.
And temperatures only average throughout the entire year at about -1 Celsius. It is a desolate, empty, isolated, and frozen wasteland in the middle of nowhere that for some reason belongs to Norway.
What the hell are you buying that for, Norway? Or maybe you claimed it, I don't know. But you can, I guess you could, you can have it. But yeah, that is kind of strange. That is really strange. I wonder if hopefully maybe they'll give some information on how Norway claimed it or why they claimed it. Maybe Erling Haaland could buy it.
The island is so remote that no human eyes ever even witnessed it until 1739, when a French ship sailed by it on an expedition but didn't land.
Okay, technically speaking, by that, the French could have claimed it if they wanted to, but they didn't.
Century went by until another group of humans even saw it again in 1808. This time a British ship, but once again, they failed to actually land.
So they didn't claim it either. So the French had a chance to claim it, and the British had a chance to claim it, and neither one of them claimed it.
The first 100% confirmed landing on the island took place in 1825, when a group of British sailors landed and claimed it for Great Britain. But then, after they left, nobody came back to visit the island again for another 68 years.
Okay, so the British claimed it, okay, in 1825. Okay, and so nobody claimed it again for 68 years. So that would be, do my quick math here, 1893.
Throughout the entire 19th century, there may have only been 4 ships who ever visited the island, and only one of those actually landed. The Norwegians finally arrived to the uninhabited and almost unvisited island only in 1927, when they built a hut, raised a flag, and claimed it for themselves.
Even though the British had already claimed it, well, I don't think the British really wanted it. I don't remember hearing about the Great Norwegian-English War over this island, so...
As the British had once done a century earlier. Back then in 1927, the British initially disputed Norway's claim to the island, but after giving it a second thought, they decided that Bouvet was A, tiny, B, didn't have any harbors for ships, and didn't really have any resources.
In other words, they didn't want it, they didn't care. It's yours, you want it, you got it.
And C was in the literal middle of nowhere that wasn't nearby to anything of even the most remote strategic importance.
And it doesn't look like you're going to go in that direction anyway. Yeah, so yeah, if you want it, you want to claim it, congratulations. Bouvet Island is now is now owned by Norway.
And so the British relented and allowed the Norwegians to claim it, and today, Bouvet Island is Norway's only real overseas dependency, despite being located nearly 13,000 kilometers away from the capital of Oslo. And as you'd expect, there isn't really anything that ever goes on here. Since the island is so far out of the way from any inhabited location on Earth, Ships sailing over the seas and airplanes flying above rarely, if ever, pass by it. The area is so absurdly remote and far away from any human civilization that you could probably even detonate a nuclear bomb here and nobody would ever hear or know about it.
But if Norway hears about it and finds out about it, they may go to war with you.
I say that because it probably literally already...
And I wonder if anybody from Norway who watches this video even knows that they own this place and what they're going to do with it. I mean, they're probably not going to do anything with it, obviously, but it's just kind of strange that this place is claimed. I mean, you could probably just say we don't want it anymore. Nobody wants it. It's just a piece of ice in the middle of nowhere.
Already happened. Back in 1979, an American satellite flying above the area detected a double flash of light in the ocean nearby to Bouvet Island, the classic signature of a nuclear explosion. But nobody in the decades since has ever claimed any responsibility for the detonation. To this date, the information regarding the incident is classified by the United States government. But most researchers believe that the detonation was a secret, undeclared nuclear weapons test conducted jointly by apartheid-era South Africa and Israel, although both governments continue to deny any and all involvement to this.
You know, it really does. That was 1979. Who the hell cares? I mean, at this point in time, it's not that big of a deal anymore. I mean, if you did it, just say, yeah, we did it. It's not like anybody's going to lose any sleep over it.
Day. But even just getting to Bouvet Island in the first place is a massive challenge. Since the island and the waters around it are protected as a nature reserve by the Norwegian government, you need strict permission to ever be allowed to visit, and those permissions are rarely ever granted.
But that also brings up a question. Why would you want to go there? Has anybody ever really asked to go to this place?
But let's pretend for a moment.
But again, you're going to pretend in a second. But I think that's probably a good idea. Just make it a natural preserve for fish and wildlife, and if there's any wildlife that lives there, that's not a bad idea. I think that's good for Norway.
Moment that right now, as you're watching this video, you were somehow teleported directly to the island as you currently are and just told good luck. How would you find your way to escape?
Well, right now, if I was transported there, I would be dead before too long. If the temperature is below zero, at the average temperature, I'm in shorts and short sleeve, I would be screwed.
What would you do to survive, and would it all even be possible? Well, there obviously isn't any cell service or Wi-Fi to be heard of on Bouvet, so your phone's gonna be pointless. With the average temperature being -1 degree Celsius, the first thing you're going to need to do is obviously find warmth. But there aren't any trees and there isn't any wood to build any fires with. And you probably don't even have anything to start a fire with in the first place, so that's going to be difficult. Maybe you think your best option would be to attempt to build a raft or a boat and simply row your way out towards civilization.
But you're so hell and gone from civilization. No, you're the best thing to do is to stick your head between your legs and kiss your tuchus goodbye, because you're screwed.
There are unfortunately multiple problems with this idea. First of all, as mentioned previously, 93% of the island is covered by a glacier, and beneath that glacier is an active volcano. The sides of the island are therefore almost entirely sheer, vertical, icy cliffs, and the island doesn't really have any beaches for you to launch a ship or a raft off of. So even if you do somehow acquire a raft, what are you gonna do? Toss it off a cliff and then jump off the cliff yourself into the freezing Antarctic waters? Further, how are you going to build a raft? Like I said, there aren't any trees on Bouvet Island, and that means there isn't any wood. By some miracle, if you manage to find a perfectly seaworthy raft that somehow washed up on the shoreline, where are you going to even row to? Tristan da Cunha is a tiny...
I mean, he just said that you're hell and gone from everywhere. I mean,
the island, and the odds of you...
The closest is that island, which is 2,078 kilometers away.
Successfully hitting it are just slim to none. So if you...
And also, nobody goes by it. Nobody flies over it. Nobody takes a ship by it. No, you're screwed.
You decide on rowing in the direction of South Africa instead, and if you could somehow manage to row even at an Olympic level, it would still take you more than 6 consecutive days of non-stop, continuous rowing without any breaks whatsoever to get there, so in all reality, it would really take you several weeks, if not even months, to actually row to South Africa. And that's just assuming you even make it there without dying of exhaustion, thirst, hunger, or from the elements first. Okay, so escaping on your own from Bouvet is most likely a bad idea and probably not even possible.
Now the next question is, could you survive there?
So what about just bunkering down on the island, surviving, and hopefully just waiting it out until someone else shows up? Well, this strategy probably isn't that much better. The island's harsh, freezing climate has seriously limited the amount of food that's available.
Now there would be water with the ice. I mean, the snow, that would be your water. So you would have that.
The only non-animal life to speak of are restricted to fungi and moss, and they mostly grow in the few and far between snow-free areas of the island.
But you'd need warmth. You'd need to be able to build a fire.
The problem here is that most of the snow-free areas, and therefore most of the fungi and moss, are located on land that is so steep they're subjected frequently to the threats of avalanches. So, good luck not getting crushed or buried. On the flip side though, animal life itself is rather plentiful. The island is one of the most important breeding colonies for several species of penguin, and
Okay, anybody ever had penguin before? Does penguin taste like chicken?
there are often tens of thousands of them present on the island at a time. There are hundreds of thousands of other bird species present, and tens of thousands of seals as well. So if you can master hunting and are okay with eating birds or seals, you can have plenty of food to survive off of. The biggest problem for you, though, is that there's just no telling how long you'll need to survive doing all of this for. Ships and planes rarely ever travel by, and the odds of them seeing you when they do are slim to none. And the island is pretty often covered in fog, so when a plane flies overhead, they're probably just not ever going to see you. Your best bet would be to hold off and wait for an actual intentional trip to the island itself. But those are carried out very rarely. Weirdly enough, there are actually 3 planned expeditions to Bouvet Island led by the Norwegian government in each of the next 3 years in 2022, 23, and 24.
Okay, so if you were teleported there right now, then you'd have that. But when are they going to get there? How, you didn't just survive till they get there.
But that's generally not the case. Usually, there could be many, many years in between expeditions where no human is coming to visit at all. Meaning that depending on when you become stranded, the next people coming to visit could be up to a year or many years away from visiting.
But that also brings up, why would, I realize they're making expedition 22, 23, 24, but why would they want to go there?
In fact, so few people have ever visited the island that it's estimated only about 100 people have ever actually been there throughout all of human history. To put that into perspective, there are more than 5 times as many humans who have been to space than have been to Bouvet Island. It's an insanely difficult place to get to, and if you ever reach it, you can join one of the most exclusive groups of people who have ever existed. As an example, this guy named Charles Bailey visited the island back in 2003 and is widely acclaimed to be the world's most well-traveled person. In order to reach Bouvet, it took him a journey of 72 full days that culminated with a dangerous helicopter ride from his boat through freezing temperatures, dense fog, and 50-knot winds.
Now that's dedication. I mean, if you say I want to step foot in every place in the United States, every place on the world, every place on the globe, and then you made it down to this place and you actually did that, that's dedication. I mean, you got to tip your hat off to somebody like that. I'd shake my head because he's a little bit crazy, but still, I tip my hat off to somebody like that, wanting to touch every place on planet Earth, or every place that exists on planet Earth. That's pretty good.
It was literally only by a stroke of luck that he was even offered the trip in the first place, aboard a South African research vessel that agreed to take him there while on their way to fix a nearby weather system.
Did he tell Northern Regions he was doing this?
The point of all of this is that Bouvet Island is the world's most hardcore and extreme remote location. It's probably the singular most difficult location on the Earth to visit. And if you're unfortunate enough to get stranded there, escape is almost completely impossible. So, probably don't ever go there alone, and if you do, you're probably going to want to take something with you to keep you occupied for the months or years it'll take until somebody comes to rescue you. Like, I don't know, a Super Duty editing or gaming PC. Well, that may actually be pretty tough since there isn't any electricity and there isn't any internet, but you know what isn't very hard? Actually building your own PC with Micro Center.
Okay, it looks like the rest of this is just a commercial for Micro Center. But yeah, if you ever make it to that island, then looks like you're hell and gone from everywhere, literally hell and gone. But that is what it is. Okay, what if you were stranded on the world's most remote island, Bouvier Island? Okay, well, we now know you are. It's not out in the tropics. You're not. You just kick back, relax, get a coconut and lay down on the beach. No, it's a big giant glacier, a big giant ice cube. It's someplace you don't want to be stranded, and quite unlikely that you ever will be, fortunately. But that is what it is. So what if you were stranded on the world's most remote island? Now you know. Okay, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Please click like, share, and subscribe, and have a good rest of your day. Thank you.